Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Austin Paul. I'm a filmmaker that's aspiring to teach other filmmakers how to create awesome product commercials, and anything else that has to do with filmmaking. And today what we're gonna focus on is how to up-level your set design by shooting a product on a green screen or white screen or black screen, and then taking that and then using Adobe Stock assets and creating a much higher end set design that you couldn't create in your garage, studio, or anywhere else. So let's get into it. Sometimes when I'm working on a commercial or product commercial, I want flexibility with how I want my set design to look for my product. And sometimes it's a set design that I can't actually create myself. So what I can do is take the product, shoot it on a green screen, and then use some kind of asset or background asset to up-level that shot. This allows me to drop my product into any kind of environment that's gonna make my client happy in a quick and easy way. So I'm gonna take this black watch and hang it by a string and then place it with a white background instead of a green screen, because this will be easier for me to remove in post. We just want something that's gonna be contrasting to our product that doesn't have the same color, and that'll allow us to do our green screen or masking effect. But before I do all that, I'm gonna head over to Adobe Stock and I'm gonna type in something like product background or black Podium with gold silk, and that's where I'm going to find this awesome asset right here that is a beautiful high-end look that's going to go perfect with the watch that I'm going to shoot. So I'm going to download that in 4K. I'm going to bring that right into After Effects. All right, so let's jump right into this. This is actually a super easy edit in After Effects. I'm going to save you guys a bunch of time. I'm turning this off real fast. We'll use that later. But we have our Adobe Stock background, which is the one that I just downloaded. Super easy. Two things to keep in mind when you are filming this, even though this is not a filming tutorial, is try to match the angle of your camera when filming whatever product, like our watch, to the angle of this, so it's a little bit above. As you can see, the angle is a little bit above the platform, and that will create a more realistic look. And then secondly, what you're going to want to do is kind of have a color matching. So this is kind of a gold flicker happening onto here, and this is the watch that we shot. This is, and when you're trying to shoot it, again, like I said, the angle is important, and having like a little bit of a flicker here. I shot the flicker maybe a little too fast. It's this fire looking flicker, but you could slow that down a little bit if you wanted to. But it is a gold flicker that should match this background, and that's the whole point of it. The other thing I just want to talk about real fast is I shot this on white because I thought this would be the easiest, because this is all black and gold. Since I was playing with color, I didn't really want to mess with a green screen. But the first thing that we need to do, super easy, is that we're just going to remove this background and just isolate the watch. And there's a few ways you can do that. You can mask, or you can use the rotoscope tool, which I like to use for something like this when it has a little bit more complex shapes. I'm just gonna click on the rotoscope right here, double click on the watch. This is gonna pull up, and I'm just gonna highlight around the watch, and the watch, or the tool, rotoscope tool, should pick it up pretty well. Let's see. Boom, picks it up pretty well. Now this part is popping up right here, but we're not going to worry about that because I can easily mask that out later. And these we're going to mask out separately. They're just kind of smaller, and I don't want the rotoscope tool to jump around. Now I know this is going to work pretty well because I've already done this. So I'm just going to press freeze, and then let's fast forward through the edit. Perfect. Now that we're done rotoscoping, we can click back on the composition right here, and that will show it in this environment. So there's a few things that I want to do before we just settle with this. As you can see, there's still kind of a line around here. So what we can do is we are going to shift the edge, and we're just going to drag it a few until we see a difference. Now you can see the lines going away a little bit more, because I'm not too worried about the detail on the edge as much. And then I'm going to bring this feather up a little bit. And then I'm gonna reduce the chatter, and the chatter is the little jaggedies, that lines that go around it. So this just smooths that out a little bit. Kind of does a little bit of a blending effect. Now that looks great. We're gonna do a few more things now to clean up this mask, which is really quick and easy. We're gonna right click, pre-compose on our watch, move all attributes, press OK. And we're just gonna start masking out and using the subtract tool. So let's get rid of this thing down here, right, like that. Now it's going to mask that, but what we're going to do instead is go to subtract, and that's going to bring that back up. Let's see how that looks. Pretty clean, not perfect, but that's okay. And then we're just going to do the same thing for this, and this, and then we'll move on to our next step. So essentially I got four masks. Here to clean this up. I did them pretty quick and easy, but the next thing we need to do is put our subject into position so that it looks like it's actually on this podium, and that's very easy to do as well. All we're gonna do is press S on the watch, and we're gonna scale it down, and then we're gonna find a place to place it, dead center, which is probably right here. And that's a great start for our podium and watch. Now, if I wanted to bring this to the next level, I would have shot this rotating. It could have been rotating on the podium, but essentially these are all the same steps. I just wanted to shoot this a little bit simpler today, just to show you guys, just in case if you didn't have a 360 spinning table, and also a watch is very hard to mount. Another thing we can do, because you can see that the fishing wire right here is a problem, is super